What's up, you guys? I'm Dan. This is Frugal Not Cheap. Today we'll talk about why I recently moved my cell phone service from Google Fi over to a combination of Mint Mobile and Google Voice. So I've had Google Fi as my cell phone service provider going all the way back to when it was called Project Fi back in 2015. So it's actually been about 8 years or so. It is an MVNO, so they don't have their own cell phone towers, but sort of piggyback on other providers. Specifically, that was Sprint and T-Mobile. Those eventually merged, and then also US Cellular. It is pretty neat. Kind of the big selling point is that they have a flex plan where you pay for how much you use. And so that made sense for someone like me that didn't use a lot of data and wanted to keep the, the monthly spend as low as possible. So what you get is unlimited talk and text for $20 a month. And then $10 per gigabyte for data, but it actually is sort of how much you use. So if you use half a gigabyte, it's going to be $5. If you use a full gigabyte, it's $10, and then so on up to a particular limit. I think it's capped at like $60 of data, and then at that point it becomes, unlimited as well. So you never really have to worry about it, but it will cost more, if you start using more data. You also get hotspot tethering, which I use a lot in order to update my car's software. Basically, I take data in over Wi-Fi and then turn on the hotspot tethering. And on my Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, it is able to basically work as a pass-through and use zero cellular data in order to transfer that Wi-Fi over to the car using this feature. Then they also have smartwatch connectivity where you could have a Google Pixel Watch or a Pixel Watch 2 or a Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 or 6, and they'll provide service to those watches at no additional charge. So that's pretty cool, and it's not through the phone, through Bluetooth or anything like that. This is standalone service for those products. But my favorite part about Google Fi or Project Fi was, of course, the international roaming. So it's exactly the same rate wherever you travel, covers a ton of countries around the world. You land, it says, welcome to, say Japan, we got you covered, and you're able to talk and text at exactly the same rates as, back in your home country. And so this is really, really good for me for travel. So if Google Fi is so awesome, then why have I left? Why have I switched providers? And I will say, that it's still, I think, a very good service, and particularly for this niche of people that doesn't want to have unlimited data and wants to try to get that bill down a little bit, it is still useful, and especially for the traveler, because international roaming is very expensive. And so if you travel frequently, this is still a very good option as well. So I'm leaving though for two reasons. The first reason is that try as hard as I might, I'm just not able to keep my data usage as low as it used to be. I do have the same amount of Wi-Fi, and I don't know what's different. Maybe apps nowadays are consuming more data, or I don't know what's going on. Whereas my bill back in 2016 was an average of $30, including taxes. My bill's gone up to an average of $50 over the last 12 months. So at that rate, I might as well have, one of those $40 a month unlimited plans or something like that, right? So that's one major reason that I wanted to move over someone else is, my costs have gone up by $20 a month, even though I'm trying not to use data. And so I might as well look at other providers. But the other big one is also that I'm getting prepared to fire abroad. And one of the things that's really useful to have while you're abroad is a way to get SMS messages, text messages for two-factor authentication on a US phone number. And I wanted that number to be this number that I've had really since I was in college a long, long time ago. I actually had someone just call me today and they were like, hey, you've still got the same number, what? Because it was out of the blue and we hadn't spoken probably in about 3 or 4 years. Anyway, so one option that I looked at would be to just move my service from Google Fi to Tello and keep that number there. They do have plans as low as around $8 a month that you'd be able to still do Wi-Fi calling and receive text messages with. But my thought was, why pay $8 a month if I can get that down to actually zero by using Google Voice? So I ported my number over to Google Voice. That did cost $20 to do. But of course, you can't just have Google Voice because as you're out and about, unless you've got an internet connection or Wi-Fi connection on your phone, you won't be able to take calls and send texts as well. So for now, I got a Mint Mobile plan. And this video is not sponsored by Mint Mobile. But yeah, I think it's a little funny because, of course, on YouTube especially, you see a whole lot of the Mint Mobile ads. Mint Mobile is a T-Mobile MVNO. So in a lot of ways, the service is pretty similar to what I had with Google Fi. Now, one important point to make is they're always talking about their $15 a month unlimited promotional rate. That is only for the first 3 months, by the way, so something to definitely keep in mind. I probably should have taken advantage of that, but I just wanted to go ahead and get on the plan that I would be on for, at least the next 18 months or so. And so the normal price actually does depend on how long you're going to prepay for. So you can do 6 months or you can do 12 months. And of course, the prices are better for the 12 months. What I'll end up doing here after my first 3 months are up is going for the 12 months at $15 for 5 gigabytes of data. So this is, plenty of data for me. I'll probably only use maybe, a gigabyte or two, something like that, because I'm still on Wi-Fi most of the time. But it is nice that I won't have to worry so much about data consumption while I'm just, out and about. And the cost is quite good at $15 a month plus tax. That'll come out to about $190. Now, one of the cool things about Google Fi was messages for web, where you could both take phone calls and send text messages and picture messages but just by going to messages.google.com. So Google Voice, of course, has kind of like an app, but it's basically just a hot link to the website, voice.google.com, where there, of course, you can send messages and take phone calls as well. And so this way I'll be able to get those 2-factor authentication messages when I'm abroad. For now, the calls do get forwarded to my Mint Mobile number, which I don't really need to give to anybody because it doesn't matter. They just call my old number and it comes through on that one for me. But one downside is that Google Voice decided to get rid of text message forwarding. You used to be able to get those messages forwarded to your actual cell phone number. That's no longer the case. You can get them sent to your email, but that's not as helpful. Because the use case I'm thinking of here is when I'm in the car. So in the car, of course, it'll pick up phone calls and text messages that go to your primary cell number. But when it's going to Google Voice, that doesn't happen unless, of course, you forward it to that number. So the phone calls work. I'm able to get those forwarded and, call people and pick up calls in my Tesla just fine. But when it comes to the text messages, the messages coming into Google Voice, then those aren't showing up through the car the normal way. Now, I did find a pretty cool workaround. Of course, Teslas have a web browser, and I just set a shortcut to voice.google.com. And so there I'm able to see my text messages. In a way, it's a bit of an upgrade. I can actually see picture messages this way as well. Have to be very careful, of course, and be using autopilot as well at the time. But in order to reply, the Tesla web browser keyboard does have text-to-speech or speech-to-text. So I'm able to basically reply using my voice just the same as I could in the past. So that's pretty cool. Another thing that's been good over the past several years is that in the past, a lot of banks and other institutions would not recognize Google Voice numbers as appropriate numbers to send 2-factor authentication codes to because they knew they weren't like real cell phone numbers. These days, with VoIP being so much more common, that's less of an issue. You still want to check if you're going to work with your financial institution, but so far I haven't had any problems whatsoever. Now, of course, the other downside is that I will no longer have seamless cell and text coverage and data coverage as well when I travel, but most airports have Wi-Fi. It's pretty easy to find Wi-Fi, so when I really need to, I'll still be able to make those phone calls and send those messages as well. They will cost a little bit, but the rates are pretty good on Google Voice. I looked at how much it would cost to make calls in Japan and also in Thailand, and they would come out to 5 cents and 4 cents a minute, so really pretty affordable there as well. So that's it. So far, I'm really happy with this combination of Mint Mobile and Google Voice, and I think I'm going to continue to run that until I fire. That's financial independence, retire early if you don't know what that means, hopefully abroad. Alright, I hope you found that helpful. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.